Okay, bring the emotion right off the bat.
I did that on purpose.
You sure did. Is that how you were going to make me relax? It's true. Sink into it. Thank you. I appreciate that. It means a lot to me. And
Yeah.
you're very special to me as well. You become such a close friend, and I just adore you. Energizer Bunny. That's going to be my nickname for you.
I was so nervous to meet you for the first event that we did, the Glow Ride last summer.
Really?
Yeah. I've participated in a lot of fundraising type of events and volunteer activities because I believe it's so important for our community. And I remember driving up there, like my hands were sweating because I'm like, this is the person that essentially wrote a check for, a nice amount to help our family when we didn't know what else to do. As you know, the finances start adding up really quickly, and just the turnaround time of finding you through the social worker from the UW facility in Washington, and then anyways.
Well, let me just tell you, I remember my first phone call with you when we figured out, how to help your family and how we could be of service. And you called me. You said you pulled over. And you called me because you were like, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
You to answer.
Yeah. And you called and you were like, wait a minute. There's so much. You just get so overwhelmed when your family's going through that. And I don't know if you've shared that here on your podcast yet, but it's such an overwhelming time. And and it's not even the money. The thing I found out, and I think I heard this in your voice and it makes me want to cry, is that it's that someone's there, someone sees you, they see what you're going through. It's not just the check, you know what I mean? It's so much more than that. So what we do at the foundation is, emotional. It affects every part of you because I think you can feel really alone, especially in that critical time of life when you lose someone you love. Everything is so overwhelming. So I'll never forget the first call with you.
Too bad.
Wait a minute. This is Wendy. You're sending a check. You were like, really? Like, yes, really. That's what we do.
Then when we got off the phone, I remember going, wait. And then I looked it up again. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that was Melissa. And then I'm like, that was the founder. I'm like, I just talked to the founder. I was expecting to talk to some assistant maybe, or someone that half knew what they were doing. But
Oh, yeah. No, I answer all my own calls.
Which is amazing. And we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
So why don't we just start from the beginning? And if you wouldn't mind walking us through how this foundation even got started.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm feeling a little emotional today. This is right around Claire's birthday. She would have been 27. So it's a really special time for me. It's also, I remember this story so well, this founding story. Claire was born in 1997, and at the time when she was born, there was a very grim prognosis for people with cystic fibrosis, and so her father and I were really worried about what kind of a life she was going to have. Was she going to be happy? Is she going to be okay? Can she go to school? All those questions. And her life, progressed. We found out when she was about 10 years old that she had a propensity for sharing her message. I mean, you could not keep this kid down. She just was making videos at the hospital. She was really driven to raise awareness about cystic fibrosis.
At 10.
Oh, yeah. Oh, even
and what
before,
drove
honestly.
that as a 10-year-old to be brave enough to talk about something that can potentially, for various different people, kids or adults, that could be so uncomfortable.
Yeah, I know. She always wanted, something she said in one of her talks that really, really, I think explained it so well is she has cystic fibrosis. And when people are sick, sometimes it gives them a platform that other people do not get. She said a lot of people are curious what you have to say. They kind of feel sorry for you. They kind of just gives you this platform that you didn't really expect. So she said, I'm going to utilize this to make the most of it, right? It's not about poor me. It's about cystic fibrosis is so rare. People don't really know what it is. So she'd talk all about it. And her little 10-year-old explanations that are so adorable. I should send you a video when she was 7 at Children's Hospital LA. And she couldn't really pronounce it right. She said Cystic Fibrosis. She was
and she, the 65 roses.
65 roses, exactly. So she couldn't even, but from a very early age, she just had this message. I think you're born sometimes with your mission. So, from the age from 10 to 13, she just got really out there making videos, whatever. And then at 13 years old, she went in for a routine surgery. It's called fundoplication, and it has to do with acid reflux. She had severe acid reflux that was causing pneumonia, recurring pneumonia. So that's kind of boring. But it's a pretty routine surgery, but she ended up getting sepsis. And I was at work, my construction job, right? I was going to get a permit for something.
You're a project manager.
Yep, a really important job. I knew in my heart, I mean, literally something told me to turn around. I was on my way to the city to get a permit, and which is a big deal. You got to get them on time, blah, blah, blah. Did a U-turn, went down to the hospital because I knew she had had surgery that morning and it was going to be mild and her father was there, but I knew in my gut I needed to be there. And by the time I got there, she was in complete lung failure after the surgery. She couldn't breathe. She was on 15 liters of oxygen and she still couldn't catch her breath. And I was like, something is really wrong. And that led to a 16-day coma. They put her in a medically induced coma and we thought for sure we were going to lose her. And at first they put her on a ventilator, and that was not even powerful enough. They had to put her on something called an oscillator, which is, you can look it up if you want to. It's just a leveled up ventilator, right? So they kept telling us nobody with cystic fibrosis has been able to come off of one of these and survive because it damages your lungs. So we were pretty much ready to say goodbye to her, and it was the hardest, darkest time in my life. And during that time, we had this huge community come out and support us. Like the whole waiting room, we had signs up that said Claire's Corner. Like 50 people would come from, our church and our community groups and our family and support our family through this, which is the behind Claire's place. This is why, because we lived this experience. And people were there, helping with my other daughter because I had to be at the hospital all the time, bringing us meals, what people do, a community of support. And when she came out of it, it was a miracle. They told us she had a 1% chance of surviving. It was a miracle, but she had a near-death experience, in my opinion. She's talked about it a little bit, that she remembers feeling like she was dying. And she said one of the biggest things that she felt was not fear and sadness, it was grief for things that she hadn't done yet. Because she had so much to do in this life. I know.
I have
it's
goosebumps
unbelievable
listening to this.
And it wasn't that of course she was sad, but she said it was a real overwhelming feeling of grief. Like, wait, I had so much more to do. And so when she came out of the coma, I thought she was going to be, pitiful and it's going to be so hard. And then she was dependent on oxygen for the rest of her life. It was hard for her to recover her strength, but she twisted that around into a positive somehow. She was like,
she
okay,
did.
yeah, here we go. Here we go. This is my moment. And she just got busy. And she said, Mom, we're starting a foundation. And I'm like, okay, because I had no idea what she was talking about.
She was the yes man on the Jim Carrey show.
Yes man on the Jim Carrey movie. And I said, okay, I just thought life affirming, it's going to be something really great for her, something she can do. And we just jumped in. We got that book, Nonprofit Kit for Dummies, from Amazon.
Shut
I swear. Up. I still have that book and all the earmarked pages. And we started this nonprofit, and it became her mission. And so...
And she has always been extremely passionate. I've seen so many videos, and I've always just been in awe of her passion at such a young age. Yeah. When you hear her speak, the videos that you share on your Instagram and on your YouTube channel, especially her TED Talk.
I know. She did 3 TED Talks that were just mind-blowing. So how some people are just born with their mission? I think she was born with her mission. She was always a speaker. She was always very wise for her age. And, people say, God, you must have done something so awesome to have a kid so awesome. But I think she came that way, Wendy.
100%
I really do. I just
way.
don't think, I can't take credit. You know what I mean? And, of course, parents are always, I'm so proud of them. But, people are like, how did you raise such a great child? And I want to say, really wasn't me. I swear she came that way. She had her mission, and she was very driven.
You were so open as a parent to allowing that instead of you trying to direct. I have so many. I'm the only person in my friend group who doesn't have kids, and I have certain friends that are parents that it's like they're trying to be the director of their life to decide what the parent thinks they should do, and there's this constant battle between the parent and the kid because there's no alignment. And so I think for the fact that you allowed that and supported what her vision was is just, I think it's so important, to let her totally feel comfortable in that and to move forward. And you were right there, like, okay, we're doing it versus, honey, we've never done this before. Yeah. I mean, we're getting a Nonprofit for Dummies book for crying out loud.
I know? Yeah, I don't know.
That's
what I'm
huge.
Doing. Yeah, I guess that's true. I never looked at it that way. We didn't ever, she couldn't be managed, for one thing. She was very, even if I wanted to, she could not be managed. She
was not.
I would tell her, be sure that you don't curse. You know what I mean?
I couldn't see her cursing.
Oh, yeah, she did. Have you watched her YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Yeah, she curses.
Not very often.
In her video. Every once in a while, an F-bomb will slip out or whatever, and I'm like, oh, honey, you shouldn't. She couldn't be mad. So I wasn't always just perfect, but we did really know a lot of people with children with cystic fibrosis, as you know, they want to keep their child out of school. It's always about safety, like in a bubble.
Yeah.
And we always knew she couldn't be put in a bubble. She was just not that type. So whatever it was, even if it meant her life would be shorter, but she was always out to experience the world. So we were always supportive of that. So thank you for saying that. I never looked at it that way.
100%.
Yeah, her father and I both supported her in that, and just because you could see her light come on,
Exactly.
when it came up. You
Yeah.
can't stop it. You're just gonna ride with it. So that was the founding of the organization. That was 2011.
That's so amazing.
13 years. I can't believe it.
I love it. Okay, and then, obviously you're someone who worked in a different sector prior to moving into the nonprofit world. How has your past experiences in a completely different sector shaped your approach to Claire's Place?
That's so funny because, of course, I didn't know anything about nonprofit when she decided we were doing this, right? And I'm like, okay. I love this. And at the time, I was working project management for construction. It's very different, very detail oriented, right? Very administrative in a lot of ways, and keeping very close records, getting permits, things like that. I had no idea that it would transfer into especially starting a nonprofit. It's very administrative. I was always behind the scenes. I was also an executive assistant when I was younger, so I have really great, email communication, things like that, all those computer skills that I needed. And it was only like 5 years into having Claire's Place Foundation that I was like, this is what it was all for. Like, I never really found my passion. Those were just jobs. I mean, I liked them, but they were just jobs. You know what I mean? But when it all came together for me, I was like, oh, I'm really good at administrative stuff. I'm really good at keeping up with our governance of our organization. I'm really good at keeping up with the finances and all of that stuff, the behind the scenes things. And it was all of these other skills that led to this. So it was all kind of meant to be, I think. It worked out
It's
perfectly.
interesting that you say that, because remember, I was just giving you some accolades about your attention to detail with the follow-up, with the certificates, with the letters. Post-event, we just successfully had the pickleball tournament up in LA, which was amazing. And your
So fun.
follow-up was just impeccable. And I mean, I just was like, wow. I mean, I've worked at various companies here in the sports nutrition industry, Power Crunch, Quest Nutrition, Lenny and Larry's, to name a few, Premier Protein, some of the biggest brands that are now publicly traded companies. And I can remember when we'd be a part of some of those type of events where we were donating or, just being a part of them, the follow-up, when it kind of falls through, it's like the next year when someone asks you for a donation or to participate, it's
Totally.
like, they kind of seem disorganized. But with your organization and with your team, so I really appreciate that. And I love your perspective where you can say, those were just jobs. I had no idea how that would play a role in your bigger role that
Yeah.
you're doing now, which
Yeah.
leads me to this next question. Can you talk about one of the most impactful initiatives that Claire's Place has undertaken in the 13 years?
Well, I will tell you, of course, our extended hospital stay program is our most sought after and most well-funded program. And that is a program that supports a family or an individual with cystic fibrosis when they're having a 14 consecutive day hospital stay. So we step in and pay their bills that they can't get to, pay their rent, their mortgage, things like that, sometimes end-of-life expenses. So that's always a nonstop need in our community. But the thing that I'm most excited about that happened right before COVID, which is so like serendipitous, right? Right before COVID, we opened a new program called the Work Proudly program. And it's to address the need in the CF community because with all the new medications, people are facing an unexpected future. They're experiencing better health, a future they never planned for, things like this, where they're realizing they maybe were not well enough to go to college and now they're not ready for the job market. So Claire's Place Foundation decided to fill that gap in the meantime while they're, experiencing all of this new health, help them get training for jobs. So certificate training so they can be ready for the workforce, work from home careers, things like that. And we have 433 people on our waiting list. And it's all focused around remote work. So what we do is we step in, we set them up with a career counselor, optimize their resumes, get them on LinkedIn, maybe get them certificate training so they can work from the home or the hospital while taking care of their CF. And then COVID hit and everybody started doing remote work. So then everybody needed a remote job. So it just went off gangbusters. And I'm really proud of it because I have very little experience in the employment industry. It's not my thing, right? But I have taught myself and I've learned a lot. I've brought on some amazing people, career counselors, people that understand this industry, and it's hugely impactful. And I know, so this is after we had lost Claire. This is just, a year and a half after we had lost Claire. When she was 18 trying to get a job, it's almost impossible when you're feeling so terrible. I mean, she was so sick, when she was 18. She couldn't hold a job. Luckily, she was a public speaker. She had this other talent that would pay her well for very, few hours. But a lot of people her age entering the workforce didn't have many work skills and weren't able to work outside of the home. So I'm very, very proud of that initiative. And we're partnering with other companies, corporations that care about getting people with disability to work, people with disabilities to work. I'm going to say that again because they can edit that out. Yes. Corporations that care about getting people with disabilities to work are investing in our program, our Work Proudly program. We're partnering with hopefully another large organization that I can't share about yet until it comes out publicly to help us address the need because it's such a timely thing. It just so happened that, everybody would end up needing it. Do you know much about the new medications out for cystic fibrosis?
I was going to say what it is, but Trikafta, yes. I was just going to pronounce it wrong. I've heard about it, and it almost sounds like a miracle drug.
Game changer.
The people that I have spoke with that have taken it, they tell me it's almost as though they don't even have cystic fibrosis anymore.
Absolutely. Can you imagine?
And I just got shivers and goosebumps again because I know that my brother did a lot of testing.
Same.
He was the lab rat. Anytime he got a phone call going, hey, do you want to try this drug?
Yeah.
He didn't care what it was. He didn't care what the side effects were. We went to Denver all the time. And thinking back, of course, I don't remember if that was one of them on the list. But of course, upon hearing this, I'm sure you probably can agree with this sentiment. It's like, damn it. If timing would have been a little different, we might be having a different conversation.
That's so true.
But I mean, good for the people that get to try it.
Well, Wendy, it burns in my chest when I think of how unfair it feels to the people we've lost. But I know, because everybody in the CF community, it's such a small community, they've all participated in those drug studies. So for me, I feel like it's their lasting gift that they've given,
No, it's okay.
to this next generation that, when they start Trikafta, they test negative for CF sometimes after 7 weeks of taking it.
Which is insane.
It's being touted as a cure.
Now, is it only in the United States? Because I'm on a CF thread with Facebook, and just yesterday, actually, there's this girl from Mexico talking about that she can't have access to that medicine and wanting to get into another country immediately that has that drug. And I thought to myself, can you imagine being that individual in another country? You're just across the border from the United States where this medicine is available and is helping people to test negative for cystic fibrosis. And because you're not a citizen, you can't have it.
Yeah,
it's like you're just seeing it.
It is global. It's available in most countries. And the company that makes it, Vertex Pharmaceuticals, are wonderful about helping get people access. They know that it's an issue. A lot of it is, we have the FDA here, so it's cleared the FDA. Well, other countries, maybe it hasn't cleared. So it's not that it's not available, it just might not be available yet.
Okay.
But there are, if anyone's looking for access to that medication, I would encourage them to contact Vertex Pharmaceuticals. They have a huge, they're very compassionate about getting this medication because it is absolutely life-changing. Your brother and Claire would still be here with us.
Maybe they want to work with Claire's Place Foundation. So if you're listening out there, anyone from the... Perfect. That's another
They're one of our big partners.
Oh, excellent.
The Work Proudly program. They were one of our first funders because they made this medication that created this quality problem of, everybody's going to, live so much longer and lose their disability income because they don't feel sick anymore. So we need to step into that void and help them, get training, get ready for the job market. So they made a big investment in our program. They were one of the first.
That is amazing. I didn't know that until right now.
Yep.
I can't imagine your feeling when you got the call or the email response going, hey, that's huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
Because when you depend on your disability, my brother, and then unfortunately leading up to his, when he lost his battle, one of the last things that happened was he lost his corporate job. He had a really, really good corporate job. I won't say the company or what it was, but he worked his way up the ladder, such a hard worker, great work ethic. And when he lost that disability, one thing we learned that we didn't know was he was no longer getting his medicine to help his body so that his lungs wouldn't reject. We didn't find that out until it was too late. By the time we found out, my mom's like, well, how long has his body been rejecting the lungs? while he's on a ventilator. And they're like, well, let's just put it this way, it's too late. And then looking back, it's like, why didn't you say anything? And he never wanted to put us out financially. He would never, his pride was way too big to call me and go, hey, think you can spot me $1,000 this month? Why? Well, I can't afford the medicine that's going to save my life. Well, I would have did anything, you know. Yeah, that's a big deal, that program.
It's a big deal.
That's awesome.
So that's I'm most proud of that, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I think it can be a game changer.
Hell
it's going to be a
yes.
flagship program. No one else is doing it. Other people want to get involved. So, yeah, I'm really excited and real proud of that.
I think someone sounds a little bit like Claire. You're not going to be managed and you're not going to be stopped.
I'm not going to be managed.
That's what she
We're
did.
going global. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you're not kidding, actually.
Yeah,
Right?
I know.
There's an
global.
infinite amount of abundance in the world.
This is true.
Okay.
This is a shift in the mind.
Yes.
That's right. In the nonprofit world,
We
you
want a
have to
mindset
have
of
that
growth
mindset.
and abundance and
That's right.
prosperity.
That's right.
So the challenge of raising awareness and funds for CF, obviously, a condition that not many people might be familiar with. How do you sort of tackle that?
You know, we do a lot of raising awareness. And like I said, from Claire, when she was even such a little girl, that was her thing. Because when people know, they care. You know what I mean? And then when they care, there comes money. And that's how I think this this new medication got funded. It originally started with the CF Foundation raising money for a cure. And so then people care and people get involved, and that's what changes the outcome. And Claire was the inspiration behind a major motion picture called 5 Feet Apart, which is the first
I
movie.
love that movie.
It's the best.
So good. If you haven't seen it, you're listening right now.
gotta
You have
see
to
it.
watch that immediately.
It is such a heartbreaker, though. Oh, it's a tearjerker, but very well done. Very well done. So she met Justin Baldoni, who was the director, while she was working on another show with him called My Last Days for the CW network.
Okay.
And she told him a story. He said, so do you have a boyfriend? She said, no, and I don't have a boyfriend, whatever. She wasn't going to tell him. He goes, well, would you ever have a boyfriend with CF? She's like, what? We can't.
No, this was just a casual conversation.
It's a casual conversation.
Okay.
Started the whole movie. He said, what do you mean you can't have a boyfriend with CF? So then she explained to him about the 5 feet apart or 6 feet apart rules, what it really is. He had no idea. It gave him the idea to do a movie all about how two CF people fell in love and couldn't be together. And that was the movie. And so she consulted on the script, and she went to the set, and she taught them how to do a good CF cough. Why
didn't they just have her be that actress?
I know. Haley Lee Richardson did a great job. She even looked like Claire to me. So the main character, Stella, is based on Claire's persona, and did her hospital room decorating, and she looked a lot. It wasn't Claire. It's not her life story, but she was the inspiration behind it. So that raised a ton of global awareness. So it's things like that where you get into the mainstream. Now so many more people know about cystic
Absolutely.
fibrosis.
When
So
that movie
that's where
came
it's
out,
That's
that
where
was
it's
my
at.
exact same thought.
Right?
This is so big for
It's
this
huge.
community. Yes.
There's never been another movie about it. Oh, makes me want to cry. And it
Movie
came out
night,
the year
date night.
after she passed. She never got to see the final movie. So, I know. Maybe from wherever she is.
She saw it. You know she saw it.
Maybe.
Claire.
Yeah, and at the end of the movie, there's a picture of her in the credits, and it says, for Claire. It's very special, really special. That kind of stuff raises awareness. So people are like, I think when I'd say I have a child with cystic fibrosis, they would think cerebral palsy or, other things that have an acronym like MS, but they know CF, they didn't understand what that was. So it's a lot of education. You got to raise awareness.
So with that, has there ever been a particular moment that's kind of reinforced the importance of your work at the foundation?
Many, so many.
Can you think of some of the top ones, maybe?
So many. I mean, the families I get to work with every single day, I get a message, an email, sometimes a thank you note in the mail, a picture of a child where, we kept them in their house. I mean, literally, they were going to be evicted, or they were going to, lose their apartment or foreclosed on their house would be foreclosed upon, and we were able to step in. And like I said, it's so much more than just a check. I mean, those are life-changing things. And those moments, they really make it all worth it for me, because right when I lost Claire, I wasn't sure that I could keep this work going, because every day is a reminder. Every day is in the CF world with people getting healthy, just like you said, with this new medication. I'm like, oh, I'm so happy for you. But really it hurts because I'm human, and it hurts that she's no longer with us. So I thought I couldn't do it. But every day is reinforcement of how important that simple little mission was, just to show up and be the financial and emotional support for people with CF. So hundreds of moments. I mean, I could give you specific examples. A man came to us recently who was homeless with cystic fibrosis. I mean, right?
How was he getting
I think you
any
got to
help?
capture that look on Wendy's face, right? I mean,
Well,
can you imagine?
How does he even get to his doctor visits? Is he seeing a doctor? How does he get his medicine? Is he?
It was so tragic. It was
And how
so
did he even
tragic.
find you?
Yeah, it was tragic. And found us through his social worker. He was going shelter to shelter, dragging around his nebulizer, his vest.
Oh my gosh.
Trying to, and then you got to clear out during the day. I mean, it was truly unmanageable and had already exhausted social services. So we're able to pay first month and deposit. And he's still in the apartment. He got into the apartment and we were scared. We're like, well, if we get him in, is it going to be a long-term solution? But right after he got in, he found a little job. I mean, life-changing.
Exactly.
Life-changing.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, so that to me is very powerful.
And that actually leads me to something that I was going to ask you is obviously what you do is very emotional. And so what are some of the things that you and the team do, I guess, to, I don't want to say manage that, but I mean, so that you can keep going, so that every single day it's just not so heavy, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know how to answer that. I cry. I cry. I get emotional. I think, part of the way my family is and the way we raised Claire is very, we're over communicators sometimes, but we communicate about everything. Sometimes if I'm having a really hard time with it, I'll ask one of my team members, one of my board members, can you take this one? This one's really hitting close to home, whatever.
Okay.
Can you help this family? Can you step in? Or just communicating about it, acknowledging that it's there. But also there's so much beauty in it. I mean, it's not always heavy. It's sometimes wonderful and joyous. So
I love that perspective because even though it is heavy and even though it can be difficult, is allowing that
Yeah.
instead of trying to hide it, cover it up, numb it out, pretend like it doesn't exist, turn off your emotions.
Right.
I love that because obviously it's very sensitive when you're approaching
Yeah.
these individuals with each unique case that they're bringing to you. You don't obviously want them to feel like, oh, okay.
Right.
I guess they don't really care.
Exactly.
Because there's a lot of nonprofits out there. And
Yeah. We're very hands-on. We're very hands-on because we're small. We're about as grassroots as you can get. Like I said, I said, we started with a book. So we're not a huge corporation. Like I said, I answer the phone. I mean, it's me. I do the email, and you'll be so surprised how many people, wait, is this Melissa? Is this Claire's mom?
So I wasn't
I'm like,
feeling,
yes.
Is this Claire's mom?
Yes.
We need to get you a hoodie that says,
I know.
yes, I'm Claire's mom.
mom.
So then what are some of the most effective strategies that you found to be most effective in engaging with the community and building that support?
The support for the organization?
Yeah.
You mean like fundraising and finding sponsors and
Yeah.
people to support it? I think people love it. Okay, so I had this huge fear. First of all, Claire's the face of Claire's Place Foundation. She is the one who loved to speak. She's the one who could speak to CEOs and walk out with $100,000 check. We called her the closer because that's how she would have been great in sales. But
She was in sales.
she was in sales, actually. So when she passed, I had this horrible fear because I was like, I am not that person. It's not me. I don't know.
Oh, because you were like, oh, crap.
I'm
Now I have
behind
to
the
do that.
scenes. Yeah, I'm behind the scenes. I'm great at behind the scenes. But when it came my turn to get out there and have to ask people to support us and explain to people why it's important, it was very vulnerable. I felt very vulnerable.
Yes.
First of all, I would cry, and it makes people uncomfortable when you cry
I
in a
thought
meeting.
that too. I'm like, why can't we
I don't wanna
normalize
cry.
that? Like,
Yeah.
just because I'm crying
It doesn't mean it's not. Yeah, don't freak out. I'm
Yeah.
gonna cry, but no,
Let
I
me
try.
cry.
Yeah, just let me cry. But no, I get emotional because of course it's so close to home. But I think what I found is people love a human.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a really weird way to say it, but I'm not a great speaker. But I absolutely 100,000% walked this road Claire's whole life. If anybody understands why it's important, I understand why it's important, like most people won't. So I had to get past my insecurity about maybe not being the best speaker. I turn red, my voice shakes, I get a little weird, but I think people identify with that because they're like, I'm not a professional. You know what I mean? I'm just a mom trying to make a difference, carry on Claire's legacy. And it has organically attracted a lot of great supporters. So I don't know if that's the best way to say it, but we also communicate, we do fundraisers, we try to work with university. That was the first one, USC. So that's going to be fun to get that demographic in, because that is Claire's age group. And you'd be surprised, the college level students, a lot of them followed her. And I didn't think about it, but that's her age group. That's her, demographic.
I mean, Madison,
So,
when I asked Madison McCall how she met
Yeah.
Claire, how they met, and she goes, actually,
I know.
I was a fan of her. I'm like, you were? It wasn't the other way around?
yeah, she was huge on YouTube. She just went crazy. Claire went crazy on YouTube, and people from all over the world, So we get, supporters from all over. We have a lot of supporters in Italy for some reason. I can't imagine why, and Portugal and all these different places, but literally globally. So it's hard to keep up. It's a lot of pressure sometimes. I feel like I'm going to let her down. I'm going to let this die. But when
No,
I
you're
let
not.
go,
You won't let it die.
when I don't overthink it and
Yeah.
I let go and I say yes to things like this podcast and yes to things that scare me, it seems to just work.
I
So,
love that.
yeah.
And that is so Claire. Yeah, gosh. Earlier when you're like, I don't know. I
don't
know
know.
exactly now.
I don't know where she got it. No, I'm
Melissa?
just kidding. No, opposite. The opposite end. Her father's much more. He's a public speaker.
Okay.
And he's a men's group leader, and he has a huge business. He's written books. He's much more out there. So I think she got it from him, actually, the public speaking.
So another tremendous thing that has happened with your organization is your foundation recently received an honor from Jane Seymour with her Open Hearts Foundation. What does this mean for the organization and for you?
So, I'm sorry, you're going to have to edit around this. This award, this Open Hearts Award, was so emotional for me because I have been, like I said, behind the scenes, supporting Claire, putting her out. She got, awarded for a lot of things, acknowledged for a lot of things. So this is the first time that I was acknowledged for me personally, and not just the organization and just Claire. So it was huge. It was very, very special. It was the Open Heart Award from Open Hearts Foundation, and their philosophy is that everyone can make a difference in the world, that it's a movement, right? And I really identify with Open Hearts Foundation's philosophy. Part of the thread, the underlying thread in Claire's Place Foundation, since we were started by Claire when she was 13 years old, is inspiring youth to get involved in charity work. It's just part of what we do, like the Glow Ride that you were part of, and that's a big part of Open Hearts Foundation too. So when they called me, I was in Texas with my mom who was dying.
I remember that.
I get on the phone, they're like, we need to do a Zoom with you right away. And I thought, oh gosh, what happened? So I'm on my phone in the hospital lobby. And one of the men, the chairman of their board of directors, said, where are you? And I said, I'm at St. David's Hospital in Austin. And he happens to be a Texan, and he knows that hospital. He's like, what are you doing there? But anyway, so we got past that, and I said, I'm here with my mom. And he said, well, we have something to tell you about. I don't know if this is the right time, but we really want to give you an award, our annual Open Heart Award. And I don't know what to say. I really didn't know what to say. It just really solidified, and what is the word I'm looking for? Not justified, but
It was almost an affirmation.
yes, it was an affirmation of that what we're doing, and that we're keeping this alive, and the work that has been going on behind the scenes is being acknowledged. It was really powerful. It was very humbling. And, being a part of that event with all those amazing people and the other people in the past who have won that award, I went and looked, and those are powerful people. So it was intimidating and wonderful and humbling, and such a beautiful acknowledgement. I was very, very honored. And Jane Seymour's a big, humongous hero of mine. She could do anything she wants, and a huge part of her life is philanthropy. And that's, she's one of my heroes. So,
When she did speak at that event, one of the things that she said that really resonated was when she was telling these various stories that have happened to people, she said they made a choice to keep their heart open, because she would go, they didn't have to keep their heart open. They could have closed their heart forever. And that's okay. When people do that, people deal with hard situations in their life differently. Not everyone wants to get on a platform and talk about it and share about it. So when she said that, I was like, oh my gosh, she is so right. It's the choice that we make to keep our heart open. That alone is hard,
it's powerful.
Yeah. So that event, and, not that long ago, you said, I'm just a mom trying to help. And in my head, I thought, if nobody's told you lately, you're pretty fucking awesome.
Do you get to cuss on here?
I mean,
You're fucking awesome too.
Melissa. No, mean,
No,
the
yeah.
fact that
Thank you.
they saw that. I mean, I can't imagine that feeling of in that moment when you're in a difficult moment in a hospital with your mother in Austin, Texas, talking to him, getting that phone call. I was going to ask, did the clouds part and did the sun
Yes.
come through in that moment when he
Yes.
called you?
Yes. I felt like it was. I felt like it was Claire saying hi too.
It could,
I felt like it was like, wow, it's all the miracles and all the beauty. And it was, I was so happy that you came to the event with me, by the way. That was so fun.
that was
really fun. It
when
was
you
an
called
awesome
me
night.
and said, no one else on the board can make it. In
I
my
want
head,
you to
I'm
come.
like, are you sure? Did you ask everyone at least 3 times? Because you want me to come with you to go meet Jane Seymour
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Malibu? What?
It was so
When I got
fun.
off the phone, I was like, someone like punch me, cut me.
Yeah.
I need
Oh.
to bleed. I need to know that I'm alive. What's happening?
I know,
And the whole
I know.
thing was just
It was a
meeting
really
one of your
magical
new
night. Board members.
and
Mara, she
her
was
daughter
great.
and
Yeah.
your husband and
It was
just
a
the
fun
whole
night.
event and being able to see Jane in that environment was literally like watching a kid in a candy store because she was so excited. And
Right.
then when we did the auction and the bidding and when she literally
Running
took
around.
her
Yeah, with
boots
her
off
boot.
and auctioned her boots that someone custom made that were awesome. I mean, the whole thing.
It was so
yeah,
fun. And you could see that lights her up, right? That is her passion. That is her mission in life. And her acting, of course, phenomenal career, phenomenal actor, but the charity work is where her heart is.
And like you said, she doesn't have to do that.
She didn't have to.
She could be in Bora Bora
Yeah.
or wherever she feels
Yeah.
like, kicking
That's
back,
so true.
doing what movie stars do.
That's so true. That's so true. Thank you for that. I forgot that she had said that because it was a really hard call. And it's funny, and it goes back to Claire when she came out of that coma forever ago. She could have turned into poor me.
Yes.
Oh, this is going to be horrible. I'm
Oh,
on oxygen
100%.
forever. I'm not even, it took her 2 months to be able to hold a fork. I mean, she was so weak, and instead it was like totally flip the, script. What do you call it? Flip the script?
Well, it's all about your
Where
mindset.
it
She had a
is
growth
all about your
mindset.
She did. She did. I learned a lot
She
of that
wasn't living
from
in
her.
fear. She wasn't
I
living
learned
in
from her.
lack.
I
Ever.
was fearful when she came out of that. I was like, well, and it's a kind of a shallow thing to say, but it's realistic. I was a single mom at the time, and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to work outside of the home because she needs 24-hour care now.
How am I
And
going to
was
pay my
scary.
bills? How am I going to pay the
Scary.
rent?
And I have another child to take care of, and oh my God, I'm going to have to move home, and
that's every mom,
everything.
yeah.
And instead, it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to us. So you just really never know.
Yeah.
Like, keep your heart open.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And now that we're in 2024 with the digital age, what are some of the challenges that you have with that?
With which?
Just, with technology and just kind of overcoming the challenges of just kind of the age that we're in now. Everything's now on social media, for example. How are you reaching people versus before? I mean, I've never gotten a letter in the mailbox
Right.
from any organization going, hey, we're reaching out to you, Miss Lafayette, because we would like to know if you're interested in donating. Or, email newsletters. I mean, I just feel like
Yeah.
with everything changing as quickly as it is, how do you stay on top of everything of, oh, this isn't working? Okay, now we need to pivot.
That's a good
I'm sure
question.
there's a lot of
It has
pivoting.
changed. It just changed so much. And like I said, first of all, when Claire was born in 1997, internet was brand new. We had to go to the library to read about cystic fibrosis. And so in our lifetimes, things have changed a lot. And even in the last
So Claire knew what a
13
card
years,
catalog was.
she did, yeah. She knew. Microfiche, remember that?
Honey, so before we find the book, we first got to go find the card.
Card. No, but in the last even 10 years, I used to do all the social media with Claire. Because she was a social media, that's her generation. She knew it. But I started to do it all myself, and I had to hire somebody to do it because you cannot possibly stay on top of everything. It is a full-time job. It's really important for a nonprofit to have a presence on social media. I wasn't as concerned about it, but if you want to attract partners, sponsors, things like that, people like Lenny and Larry's who want to, jump in because there's marketing in it for them. You know what I mean? You have to be attractive online. And I didn't really put enough value in that. And so when we hired this social media team, they're called Social Fish. I'm just going to give them a shout out because I love them so much.
I've
You
heard
met them.
Social Fish, yes. And
You met them at the
when
Glow
I was
Ride.
at Power Crunch, I remember they used them. Yeah,
What?
A long time ago.
That.
Yeah.
What a small world.
Yeah.
But they're amazing. And they just leveled us up. I mean, just incredible, professional, well done. I mean, media is very difficult, as you know. And, we have a lot of Claire content, but I'm always struggling to come up with new content because
Which is amazing, by the
it
way.
can't be all about Claire. And that's a real hard
not?
pivot for us. Well, it is.
As
that's
a mother,
the thing. Okay,
I'm sure
it's
that's
the thing.
kind of
It's
hard
what I
too.
want.
Yeah.
But people get, and I recently, when we did this birthday campaign and started sharing videos of hers, some of them have 200,000 views on Instagram now. Like they're going, like popping off, like they're going viral. And I was like, maybe it is still relevant. I kept thinking we need to find a new face for Claire's Place. We need to find another person with cystic fibrosis, which we still might in the future. But, we have so much content of hers to share. So that's pretty incredible. But I did have to get help with that. The technology is over my head. I mean, that's just, I do newsletters. I do old-fashioned email newsletters. I do Facebook, but that, TikTok, forget about it. Forget about it.
Yeah.
Do you do TikTok?
No, yeah.
It's a full-time job.
I'm officially inept when it comes to technology.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. You are?
I'm not the editor of this podcast
no.
for a reason. You don't want me editing.
I know. And I think it's really important to be a game player, to be a player. You have to have a great social media presence. You have to stay on top of those things. So we hire people to help us. That's a really long answer for we hire people to help.
Job, and it's imperative, and it's just for any other, maybe it's a nonprofit listening that's, instead of them getting the nonprofit for dummies, maybe something that you've shared on the show can help them.
Oh, I hope so. I hope anything I can share. People ask me a lot, how did you do it? And it's really hard to go back and be like, I don't really know. I know we applied 3 times for our 501c3 and we got turned down until the 4th time when we figured out how to do it. It's just learning as we went. Yeah, it's a big process.
You've been told no a time or two.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into a little bit of, as we wrap up here, can you talk about the future of Claire's Place, any new projects that you're working on now?
Yeah, so I was talking about the Work Proudly program. So our goal is really to put a lot of focus on that program. Something with the new medication that's coming out is the Extended Hospital Stay Grant Fund may become obsolete. Like, hallelujah, right? People this next generation may not ever experience extended hospital stays.
Which would be amazing.
Can you imagine? It's wonderful.
I
which
can't.
would make it obsolete, which is fantastic. That's what every nonprofit wants, right?
Yeah.
So, but there is still that huge need in getting people ready for work, and that will probably phase out over time as well. So what our main focus over the next 5 years is really improving Work Proudly program, making it a well-oiled machine with lots of partners and lots of support to help and funding. So that's our biggest goal, and we have a great event coming up in the South Bay, which is our Glow Ride. This will be our 10th annual. And this event,
I'm already ready for the Glow. I want to do it now.
Yeah, let's do it.
We should do more.
September 21st. We should do more of them.
Well, yes.
I'm the only one. See, this is the other thing. I have all these dreams and goals, but it's me and one other person and then a board of directors. We're not the kind of organization that has a huge staff, which is why I answer my own phone. I would love to have employees. I would love to attract more employees, enough funding to
Don't worry,
structural.
Lenny and Larry's, I'm not leaving.
No. I'm going to take Wendy. I might take Wendy. But, to get big enough and strong enough where we're not always looking over our shoulder like, oh, we have to fundraise, but to have that solidity, the organizational structure is what we really, really need to grow from there.
And you're putting it out there, and the universe is listening.
And people are coming to us. And I love that. It's a miracle that this other organization that I can't share about yet, that I told you,
it's how
approached
abundance
us.
Works. Yes.
Yeah, they approached us and they said, we really want to be involved in Work Proudly. How can we help? And they're huge. And so that right there will make a humongous difference. And just staying stable, just being there, working on awareness, emotional support.
Can you say yet what the theme of this year's Glow Ride is going to be?
I think disco.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think disco.
It's
last year was like Martian.
Silly, like space age. Yeah.
Oh, it's so much fun. And that event, so it is our 10th annual. That was Claire's brainchild. She never wanted to do anything stuffy and boring for the organization. So the Glow Ride was her thing. And it has turned into a humongous, family-friendly, wonderful event in the South Bay. We get, participation from everybody. Looks forward to it every year. It's September 21st this year. So you're coming.
And who doesn't want to be on the beach at sunset?
And glow goodies, riding your bike.
Exactly.
It's so
when
fun.
I read about it, I was like, huh?
It sounds like
it
fun.
was the funnest fundraiser, volunteer event that I've ever read about and participated in. I mean, it literally was like a block party.
Yeah,
honestly,
it is a block
on the
party.
Beach.
And it's more about raising awareness. So that event is specifically more about raising awareness, like shining a light on CF is the way, the original vision for that, the glow, glowing up the boardwalk all the way from Manhattan Beach to Hermosa Beach. And
I
it's
love
more about
that,
raising awareness.
To your point, it's not all, obviously the number one priority is raising funds for your different programs. However, with this event, it's the awareness part of it. It's just as equally important, if not more important.
Yeah, awareness
so,
brings funds.
As we wrap this up, it was hard for me to, limit my questions. I could talk to you every week.
I know.
And maybe we will.
Maybe we will.
So lastly, for any of the individuals out there that are listening to this and they're just completely inspired by your mission, what are the best ways that they can support and become involved?
Well, absolutely visit our website, clairesplacefoundation.org. We have at the top, you go across and you can click on a drop-down menu that says Get Involved. And so there are many ways you can help. What we really want to focus on is getting our supporters, encouraging our army of supporters to get out and create fundraisers, because that's where really the magic is, when the word spreads, things like that. We have events that you can participate in. We have merchandise, social media. We're at Claire's Place Foundation on Instagram, and I do have a TikTok, although I wouldn't recommend following it. At Claire's Place Foundation, and on Twitter at Claire Wineland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing and just sharing the story.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's really special. Is there anything that I screwed up on that we should redo?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, wait, should we do the ending again before I said that? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Melissa, I can't thank you enough. I'm so grateful that you were generous enough with your time to be here and to share the story and just, talk through the infancy of how this story was, how the foundation was created. It just kind of, reliving everything that was Claire's vision. And I think just as importantly, if nobody's told you today, I mean, I know I can say I just appreciate everything that you do on a daily basis. I don't think people realize, you've talked about a lot of different topics, just how overwhelming it can be, how emotional it can be, things that you're constantly learning every day because, like with the digital question, keeping up on the times and, where you need to pivot. And, you're just pulled in so many different directions. And like you said, you're not this huge organization with all of these employees. But the impact that you're making is massive.
Oh.
I think Rachel Platten has a song about that.
Yeah, I think she does, Rachel Platten.
That song, you remind me of that. It's like, it's just not this small little pebble. You're making that impact.
Thank
and
you.
so I'm so glad that we got to finally meet and that I get to be a part of your events and working with your foundation. And I can't wait to see where else this is going to go.
I know. It's amazing, and it's always fun to speak with you, Wendy, and I think they just cut our lights off because they're trying to get us out of here.